All right, example 2.1, simplify all these negative power expressions. If you recall, a negative power simply means that in the fraction, the object raised to the negative power is in the wrong location. If it's a negative power on the bottom, it belongs on top. If it's a negative on top, it belongs on bottom. And each time it's just the power being negative that tells you that. If the number is negative, it's just a negative number. But if the power is negative, it's in the wrong place in the fraction. So, looking at this first one, 1 over 3 to the negative second power, the power is negative 2. The expression 3 to the negative 2 powers in the denominator. It belongs in the numerator. What belongs in the denominator is nothing. We took it off the bottom, right? If you want to put a 1 there, you can, but you don't have to. So if something comes off the denominator, moves up to the numerator, that's fine. The denominator is now empty. Okay. Notice what I did to the power when I moved it up there. I put it on the top of the fraction bar, the negative 2 became a positive 2. I put it where it belonged, I fixed it, now it's to the right sign. Okay, what's 3 squared equal? 9. Alright? The times 1, the divided by 1, all just becomes 9. Alright? Part 2, negative 3 to the negative second power. What's being raised to the negative second power?
Negative
3. Just the 3, not the minus sign.
Yeah.
Okay, just the 3 is being raised to the negative second power. And currently there's no fraction here. So I'm going to make it a fraction because, again, negative powers mean it's in the wrong part of a fraction. So it's good to look at a fraction when you're doing a negative power problem. So if it's not written fractionally, just put it up once so it looks like a fraction. And what's going to move is the 3 to the negative second power is going to move to the bottom. So there's a 1 on the bottom already. We're moving 3 to the negative second down. Once I move it where it belongs, it becomes positive second. The minus sign didn't move, so it's still up top. And we can't have a fraction with nothing on top or just a minus sign on top, so we have to put a 1 there to make the fraction have a top. Okay? Fractions don't have to have a bottom, but they do have to have a top. So if there's no number on top, put a 1 there. And all we do then is evaluate on the bottom. 3 squared is 9 times 1 is 9. On top we get negative 1, so negative 1/9 is the answer. It's not negative because of negative power, it's negative because the minus sign is not being raised to the power. Okay? Negative power moved the 3 squared down. The minus sign made the answer negative. All right, next one. What's being raised to the negative second power? The entire thing, right? So notice, I'm going to put this over 1 again. This entire thing is going to move to the bottom. So the 1's already down there. The negative second power moves to the bottom. What goes inside the parentheses? Negative 3. All right? The base remains the same base when you're moving a negative power. So in this case, what's being raised to negative second power is negative 3. Negative 3 is the base. So negative 3 stays negative 3, even though the negative 2 changed to a positive 2. Once again, we have a top with nothing on it, so we're going to put a 1 on top because we have to have a 1 up there. There's always a 1 being multiplied by stuff. If you can't see it, it's understood to be there. So if the top is empty, the 1 is still there. Put it there. All right? And then what's left to do is to evaluate again. So on top we got 1. Negative 3 squared is going to be
9.
Positive 9 times 1 makes positive 9. All right, the last one. What's being raised to negative third power? Negative 3 is. This minus sign isn't, right? So that's being raised to the power of negative 3. The minus sign isn't. So again, if I put that over 1 to begin with, my original structure looks like this, something over 1. I move my negative 3 to the negative third power down. The negative third power changes to a positive third power. The base stays negative 3. The minus sign that's on top is still on top, the one that's not being raised to the power. And again, we have an empty top, so we're going to put a 1 up there to make it have something. So if we raise negative 3 to the third power, what do we get out of that?
Negative 27.
Very good. Negative 27 times 1 makes negative 27 on the bottom. On top we have a negative 1. So the best final answer, since we have negative over negative, is to make it a positive 127. All right? Now, one thing that people do improperly is they try to deal with a negative situation before they deal with the power. In this case, it works out because this power expression ended up being negative anyway, so that's fine. But if you try to here, if there's a minus, like if there's a minus here, let's say, minus minus makes plus, all of a sudden you're going to get, well, that works out too. Oh, sorry. It usually doesn't work. Let's just put that one. it would still work there. Anyway, usually doesn't work. But don't do the minus minus as a plus until you've done the powers. The minus minus as a plus is a multiplication rule. Order of operations says powers happen before multiplication. All right, so make sure that you're careful with that. You deal with the minus minus situation after you've evaluated all the powers. And you're down to multiplication or division only, that's when you deal with it.